Hi everyone, before we go into the podcast, I just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm super grateful for your continued loyalty and support. If you could do me a quick favour, if you could give me a review on Apple Podcasts, it really helps the algorithm and it will help this podcast go up the lists. If there are any subjects or topics that you want me to cover, then please do reach out to me on DM on LinkedIn and I will do my best to find the best guest for that subject or topic. This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, created and hosted by Mark Hayward. This podcast will interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and careerists. We will delve into their journey to success, key life milestones, and go deep into their area of expertise. Get ready to learn from others' successes and failures. Today we have Martin Thomas, who is a wealth management advisor. Hello, Martin. How are you?
How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for joining me. So we usually start with education. So what was your experience of education when you were younger?
I probably keep on saying if I'm honest in these podcasts because that's what I'm like. If I'm honest again, I couldn't wait to get out of school. When I was in primary school, they said I was going to pass my 11 plus and go to what is called grammar school in the UK. I failed that. Went to secondary school. Didn't really. All the teachers were saying about me, he's got it in him, but he doesn't want to apply it. So I left school. Couldn't wait to get out of school. Went to what is called Tech College. Did fairly well there, but didn't come out with that much at all. So my education really is a saying in life, university of life. That's what I've learned about myself in all the years that I've been adapting, changing, being self-aware, etc. So primary education, secondary education wasn't that clever. Never been to university, never went near university, but I learned a lot. And one big thing about my education is as a financial advisor in UK, you have to be what is called diploma qualified, and I've got that diploma in financial planning, and that's equivalent of to like a second year grade in degree level. So I've made up for that since I left school.
Okay, thank you. What did you learn? So you said you learned from life, and so until you were, let's say, sort of early 20s, what did you learn from life? What were the lessons that you learned from those early experiences?
I think what I learned, one big thing in my late teens, excuse me, early 20s, I joined the Her Majesty's Forces, Reserve Forces, the Territorial Army. And what I quickly learned was I was very good at what I was doing if I really enjoyed it. So when I joined the Territorial Army, excuse me, mate, I applied myself. I was very good at what I did. I was self-aware. I put 150% in, and I got promoted very quickly. And at a young age, I was quite a senior level, my early 20s, and then I went on to be commissioned in Her Majesty's Forces and got commissioned in Sandhurst. So from school, not trying, finding something I really enjoyed, and then applied myself 150% into that and did very well at it.
You've mentioned a couple of times already that you talked about being self-aware. So emotional intelligence and being so self-aware is something a lot of people actually struggle with, and some people get to their 50s and they never really understand who they are, what they stand for, what values they stand for. What gave you that ability to be self-aware and emotional intelligence?
Oh, that's a good question. I always say to my son, I don't think you can teach awareness, self-awareness. You've either got the skill to adapt it, which I have, and I found that skill early on. And one quick story. When I was in the Territorial Army, I used to see people training people on ranges, indoor ranges, which was quite boring. So I thought to myself, right, I've got to do that a bit differently. So I was aware at the time what I needed to change to be better to actually instruct my troops at the time, which they enjoyed it. So I could spot things that needs to be changed and then literally change them. So I always look at things and think, how not to do things and how then to do it better. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's, how can I describe it? It's just having that awareness is, moving off to my driving. I've been driving for lots and lots of years. I've got a lot of good self-awareness around me. I know what's going on, outside of the bubble that I'm in. So I've just got that skill, basically. How I've developed it, I've just kept on developing it, learning from it. But I think self-awareness in life is if you've got really good self-awareness, I think you've got a long way, personally.
It's a superpower, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned that you, before we get into your financial advisor roles in the early days, you talked about being in the military and being... do you think that gave you the education that was lacking in secondary, in sort of formative schools? Do you think you learnt experiences, and you had experiences and learnt things in the military that you possibly wouldn't have done if you'd have done the traditional route of school and school and
yeah. I think you can analyse, again, being aware of things. You can analyse school. I just didn't enjoy school. It didn't. When looking back, I just found it boring. It was not challenging me in any way. I probably had it in me because all my reports said the guy knows what he's doing, he's got the skills and everything else, but he just want to bother. And I look back at that and I think it was just boredom. Nothing sort of floated my boat. When I went into the military, I found something that I really enjoyed. And then I put 150 to 100% into that, basically. And again, I learned a lot about myself in the military. I've been put under immense physical and mental pressure by doing that. Now, I wasn't put under that in school, obviously. So in my early 20s, when I went to go to Sandhurst, the Royal Military Academy, for 2 weeks, it's immense, and I mean immense physical and mental pressure, because ultimately they want people to lead their troops into a wartime situation and not crack up, basically. So you've got to have that. It's not so much, it is the physicality or the physical fitness, but it's the mental fitness. So they push you to the limit, literally over the limit, to actually, in plain English, to see if they can crack you, because what they don't want to do is they go into a real life situation where you can't cope. You can't lead people. You fold under pressure. So they push you to the extreme. And I mean the extreme. Lack of sleep, push beyond your mental and physical boundaries, basically.
What type of leader are you?
I'm a leader that leads by example. I take control of things. I'll give you another quick example. I was involved in a car crash a couple of weeks ago. I got shunted from behind. Nothing, I was all right. Somebody just hit me at about 35 miles an hour. And immediately, when I got out of the car, I took charge. I could see people were panicking. So I reassured people, calmed people down, said to a girl, are you ringing 999 emergency services? And she said yes. And automatically she sussed me out and said, you look like you know what you're doing. You've got something about you. Get onto the phone. So I can't sit back and just let things happen. I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but I just want to take charge. I just get people to follow me, and I think a lot of that comes down with confidence that you've got, what aura you bring to the table, and I think people then will follow you because of your confidence, your aura, what comes out of your mouth, really.
Fantastic. No, I totally agree. I think leaders come in many different varieties, but you strike me after having a couple of conversations with you, Martin, that you are your personality has been defined by the military. I generally I think that the way that you approach situations, the way that you talk to me and you probably talk to other people, it's with authority, it's with calmness. You don't flap like some people get into situations, and that's probably because you've been pushed, as you just said, you've been pushed to the brink.
Absolutely.
And you haven't broken. So I think that's a really strong sort of quality. Okay, so let's go. You became a financial advisor in, is it right, in the 80s?
Yeah, 1987.
And so that's not getting political, but that's Thatcher era, that's money, greed, all those sorts of things. Did you?
Yuppies, everything else. Yeah.
Did you get caught up in that? Did you get caught up in the sort of ethos for as you're in the financial sector?
Yeah, I joined a leading bank as a financial advisor. And again, I took a big risk to do that. We can talk about risk taking all day, but I left a job that was secure. I was a civil servant. I had 3 young children. And then I saw an advert in the paper to actually go and promote and sell pensions and investments to people. Never done it. Everybody at the time, this is life in general, said, don't do it. It won't work for you. You won't succeed. It's hard. I didn't listen to anybody. I went by my own instincts and took an enormous risk and gamble. Never done that in my life before. So I came from a secure job into a job that wasn't secure and jumped into that world. Did I get involved in all of that sort of Thatcher era, yuppies, I think they used to call them back in the 80s? No, not really. I just went out and tried my best and wanted to be successful in the job that I was doing, and I was.
And do you think the independence of being an independent financial advisor, so you're not affiliated to you're there to give advice, like sort of objective advice, do you think that suited your personality? Because it kind of makes me think that it does, because you could be objective across whatever they're deciding, if it's pensions or life assurance or whatever it is they're making decisions.
One of the skill sets of being a financial advisor, and I know you're probably going to talk about it later on, is I've got to get people to trust me in seconds. So I've got to build up rapport really quickly with people and get people to like me and then trust me. And that sometimes, I think, you can study it for years. I think people will like you and trust you literally within seconds. But I've got the awareness to work out that sometimes I'm not connecting with somebody and I have to do different things and use different language to actually, and then I see it in their eyes and I see it in their demeanour and their body language of when they start to like me and when they start to trust me. And that might be as simple as cracking a joke or something, or just making somebody laugh. You've got to be a human being. Like, financial advisors are perceived to be, boring, don't listen, pushy, don't speak plain English, etc. So I've got to be aware of that, and that's what I've got to do with people. And I just build up rapport very quickly. And it might, when I say very quickly, it might take a quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, just to build up rapport with people, then get them to, because if I am a financial advisor, if they don't like me, they certainly won't trust me, and they won't do business with me, basically.
Trust is such an important part of business, isn't it? It's built.
Absolutely.
Whether it's working with business partners, whether it's working with clients.
Yeah.
Trust is something. I think my perception is that a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people sort of brush past that and think they want to make a sale. They want to convert a lead into a sale, and they don't take that time to build up that rapport. And so you were a financial advisor for 34 years.
Yeah.
So you spent a long time doing it. How did the industry change over those 34 years?
Immensely. Again, if I'm honest, when I was working for a leading bank, promoting, ultimately selling their products, they weren't good products. They were very narrow to people, basically. They were mostly savings plans and lump sum investments. Now, the arena I'm in now has changed immensely. The wealth management group we're part of now, I deal with saving people inheritance tax, making sure your money doesn't run out in retirement, lots of other things. It's changed immensely, and how it's changed as well is back in the 80s when I started, early 90s, you didn't really have to have much technical knowledge to be a financial advisor. It was all sales driven. But then through the mid-80s, they started bringing in more regulation, which was there to protect the clients. Exams were brought in. A lot of people who were good salespeople at the time didn't pass the exams because they didn't have the technical ability. They were good talkers, but they didn't know the stuff. So basically, I can't remember the figures, but when I started in the late 80s, it was something like 300,000 financial advisors. There's only something like, a third, or not even that now, because people have just couldn't handle it, couldn't pass the exams, couldn't handle the pressure of passing the exams, and basically gone out. So the way I look at that in a positive way, there's much more opportunities for financial advisors like me now because there's less of us. But the arena has changed dramatically. You know, we had to, in 2000, I think it was 13, we had to pass the diploma in financial planning, which is a degree level, second year degree level. And that forced a lot of people out of the profession because they couldn't do it, they couldn't handle it, couldn't handle the pressure. We passed all the exams first time. So like I said, came from school, couldn't wait to get out by doing something I enjoy. It's quite easy to pass the exams then, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's fast forward to when you started in wealth management. So sort of 2007, I think it was.
Yeah.
So what made you pivot? What made you change into wealth management? And just tell me a little bit of, like, some of my listeners might not know what wealth management is.
Yeah.
Definition as well.
Well, I left Barclays in 2001. We went into a business with my current co-director, and it was primarily a mortgage business. But again, that didn't work out, again, if I'm honest. And then all of a sudden, we went as independent financial advisors, probably in 2003. And then we got approached then by our current wealth management company, St. James's Place Wealth Management, huge company. We got approached in 2006, and we joined them in 2007. So that was the best approach that I've ever had in my life, for them to actually approach us, for us to join them, because we went into a different arena then. St. James's Place aren't an independent financial advisor company. They're what is called restricted advice, but that means they can go out and pick the best fund managers in the world to manage their funds for them. So I feel very comfortable with that, because Martin Thomas doesn't have to do that. They do that. The big group does that. So basically then it changed immensely then, because the products and the ideas and the solutions, if you look at the St. James's Place brand, they are aimed at sort of high net worth individuals. You know, the branding is very sort of upmarket, very posh. Again, if I'm honest, a bit boring, but they're having a huge rebrand exercise going on at the moment. So I just think they're going to bring it into the current situation that we're in, because it's been a bit stale, that brand has, over the last 10, 15 years.
And so you help high net worth individuals develop their wealth, increase their wealth. What arenas do you do that? Do you do that in property? Do you do that in stock markets? What do you advise?
I mean, ultimately, what I want to do is protect people's wealth, get people to be wealthier, take in the risks that they're accustomed to and they understand. That's half the thing. I do a lot of times managing people's expectations by talking about risk. Is a very negative word. But when you put it in context, you know, we all risk crossing the road, we all risk flying. And it's the same with investments. It depends on the degree of risk that you want to take. So I spend a lot of time managing expectations with that. But ultimately, what I want to do as well is grow people's wealth so they can leave their wealth to their beneficiaries, because we tend to find a lot of people with us, retired people, want a decent income. They don't cash in all their money, they leave it to their beneficiaries. So it's our aim is to make their beneficiaries wealthier. But a lot of things we do is one thing as well is we protect beneficiaries from what's called inheritance tax. So that's a tax in this country that if you've got over a certain level of assets, then we can mitigate that by putting in place solutions that saves people inheritance tax. Perfectly legal. It's all there for a reason, but a lot of people don't understand it, don't know about it. If they don't understand it, they don't know about it, they're reluctant to actually come out of procrastination and actually look at it. But primarily, to answer your question, the solutions that I put in place for people are mostly stock market linked. That's where we go. I help people buy properties, commercial properties, and help people buy their houses. But primarily, yes, they get wealthier by us helping them to buy them assets, as well as investing in solutions that makes people wealthier over the long term.
So one of the things that I do is I help startups and small businesses develop and build their businesses. It sounds to me that you're sort of further down the journey for the individual,
Yeah.
and making money is one thing, but actually what they say is keeping money is harder. It sounds to me that you're actually in that sort of keeping money and developing their money once they've established a decent chunk, some essence of wealth, whatever that value is. How would you say? How would you explain to me in simple terms for my benefit? How do you keep people's money? How do you maintain their wealth? How do you keep them not necessarily not paying the taxes? Because I know we're a compliance business. I work in that, and I work in you comply with the law that's there. If it's wrong, the law, the government should change it. But how would you sort of describe? How do you keep people's money? You said you invest in stocks, but and some property. But what's the sort of strategy that you help people keep their money?
I think the starting point is really simple. When I first meet people and they've got money to invest, that's easy. The starting point I'd say to people is tell me what's important to you now, going forward in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, etc. So what I then do, it sounds very simple, is I strip out of that capital what they need to keep back for the short term and for expenditure or for planned expenditure. It's the balance of the money that they don't need to keep back as a reserve, a cash reserve in a bank account, building society. It's the rest of the money then that gets invested. Now I can speak to people and I can ask them what their cash reserve is, what they want to keep back as a cash reserve. And I'm not going to argue with anybody. If somebody says I've got £500,000 in the bank, I want to keep back £200,000, I'm not going to give an opinion that says that's too much. It's their cash reserve. I'm never going to win that argument with somebody who says they want to keep back X, Y, Z. So once they want to keep back short-term money that they can get access to, we invest the rest of the money then for the medium to long term. Define that as 5 years plus.
And what's your view? So I just did a post on LinkedIn today about Warren Buffett's just come out and he's given $4.1 billion of his money to charity.
Yeah.
What's the role of charity, philanthropic ventures for the people that you help and you protect?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hi, I'm Alex, the host of X Health Show. Meet the future of healthcare. Think X-Men, that's X Health. Actual superheroes behind programming living cells to cure cancer once and for all. Tech that detects preterm delivery in seconds, brain-computer interface, or apps that employ AI to match you, your disease, with the best treatment. X Health Show brings to you visionaries who push the boundaries of healthcare from Switzerland, the heart of Europe, and the most innovative country in the world. Let me introduce you to their startups. Head to X Health Show, meet the future of healthcare. Happy to greet you there.
I mean, I haven't read the article about Warren Buffett giving that kind of money away, but what percentage of his overall wealth is the money that he's given away? To see what I mean? It sounds a lot of money to me and you, but it's probably a very...
I think he's given away something like half of his wealth.
Yeah.
He was like 60 odd billion or something like that, and he's given away in total something around sort of 20 or 30 billion so far. What has that changed? Because he does it through Bill Gates's foundation, and that's something relatively new. It's sort of like the last 10, 12 years or something. Bill Gates really worked on that foundation. But have you seen that people now are more willing to give to charities, or like how does charity fit into wealth management?
Again, I'm going to be honest. It doesn't come up in conversation. Okay. Charity stuff. Maybe I should bring it up in the conversation. I think people very generally. Again, I'm going to be honest with you. If I go and see somebody, doesn't matter what political persuasion they are. If I can save them income tax by putting in solutions in place that saves them that and saves inheritance tax, people think of themselves first, and that's life.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. So you could be an arch, whatever you are. I've never had anybody saying to me, if you could save me that money, I don't agree with that. That money should go into the public service. People generally don't trust how governments spend money.
Yeah.
So if you've given them an opportunity to actually save income tax or inheritance tax or capital gains tax, they'll bite your hand off. That's what I find.
Yeah. I think it's charity is something that I think it now. Shall I be honest? The answer I thought you were going to say was that more people are looking to give some of their wealth to charity now than they would have done 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But that's really interesting because people, obviously the people that you're working with are more, they want to look after their wealth for their beneficiaries, for their children, for their whatever, family members, whatever it is. So I think it's really interesting that people, as I say, like keeping wealth and developing wealth is critical for the people that you work for.
I know, excuse me, I know a lot of people, because I talk to charities that actually receive money when people die, basically, and the cancer charities, etc., receive a lot of money. Most of their income comes from people bequeathing money to them in their wills when they die. That doesn't come up into conversation that much when I talk to people, but obviously, I don't know what the statistics are in this country, but probably cancer charities, I think the RNLI, in this country, receive the bulk of their income from people bequeathing money on death.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And but then that's, you can look into that as much as you want, because you've got people dying out there that haven't got beneficiaries. So they're going to then say, well, I'll leave that to the local church. So there is billions and billions of pounds, not billions, being passed down through to charities through bequeathments on death, basically.
Right, I understand. Okay, let's talk about your Facebook group, Martin Thomas Financial Truth. So you set it up last year, middle of COVID.
Yeah.
Well, can you just tell me a little bit about what your aim is to do with this group that you're developing?
Yeah. February last year, 2020, I'd been following a guy on social media who was a personal development guy, and he was very direct, and I'd been following him and thought, right, I've got to get out of my comfort zone here and actually go and meet him. So I made that decision to go and meet him. So I met him in February 2020, and then the first things he did was actually started looking or asking me what my values were. So them values then were extracted out of my brain over a space of 2 to 3 weeks by lots of values, and then it was narrowed down to like the 5 top values. And from that then we developed the personal brand Martin Thomas, the Financial Truth, because that's what people get with me. I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell people things they want to hear. I'll tell people things that they sometimes don't want to hear. So that's how the brand was developed in, I think it was launched on Facebook, LinkedIn in September last year, 2020. What the aim of that brand is, or that page, is to actually I'm a different financial advisor to most financial advisors. How do I determine that? I found the real me 4 or 5 years ago. You can see the dress code I'm wearing today. It's not shirt and tie, fluffy stuff, everything else. I sometimes wear my red shoes when I go and see people. It's me, that's what radiates from me, is the real me. So the Facebook page was designed, Martin Thomas, the Financial Truth. That's what people get. And there's sayings on it then, statements such as, I'll demystify the financial jargon that goes through my industry and put it into plain English, i.e. your language. I'll tell you if it's right for you, and I'll tell you if it's wrong. Because that's me, that's what my values are. If I see somebody and I it would be easy enough to make a quick sale by getting them to do something, but it's not right for them, I'll tell them. I'll say, this is not right for you, you shouldn't be doing this. So then so that Martin Thomas, the Financial Truth, came from my values being examined. So what I do on the page is I do videos of how I've found how I've helped them find their pain points in their life, in their financial planning. So because most people, when they have a busy day, everybody else included, come home, feet up, telly on, music on, whatever, a couple of drinks, whatever. Most people don't sit down and examine their potential pain points in their financial planning. They don't. I meet people all the time that have things stacked in envelopes, they're in cupboards, they don't look at them, they don't understand it, they don't do anything. So my videos on the page are all about how, in real life examples, I've helped somebody identify a pain point and what solution I put in place. There's no products mentioned. It's all about, and it's because them videos are real life scenarios, they're core. I'm telling a story, but I'm telling a story that happened last week. You see what I mean?
So what's the aspiration? What's the intention for? Is there a number of people you want in your community? Is there a result? Is there a metric that you want to achieve with this group?
Well, there's a guy on television called Martin Lewis, who does products to do with banking and savings accounts. I mean, I can laugh and joke. I probably want to be known as Martin Thomas, the financial truth that deals with investments, because I've got a good story to tell. I've got wealth of experience. Being there, wore the T-shirt and everything else. I want to help people, but I want to keep people to identify by looking at a video. I'm thinking maybe 2 months later, I remember Martin putting that video up. That's resonated with me now. It might not resonate with them at the time they were looking at the video, but that's what I'm trying to do, is to get into that procrastination market where people generally don't have a look at themselves, don't know what they're doing, don't know where they're going in their life, not planning for death. It sounds hard, but that's life. People don't. So when I see people, if I look at company directors or shareholders, a simple question would be, you're running a limited company, you're the key guy here, what's going to happen to the company if you die? Tell me. Now, they don't ask themselves that because they're so busy making money and trying to grow their businesses, but I've got to put people on the spot to find out what they think about that.
So do you sell your services part of the Facebook group? Do you say, if you want to contact me for independent financial advice, then reach out to me in this place?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I tend to call to action at the end. I'll say, if this resonates with you, and what I tend to do as well is when I do a video, I'll actually put some text up with it as well. So the text accompanies the video. And I get help with doing that by my personal development guy. He's very, very quick. So basically, that's all I want to do really is, like I saved somebody £50,000 of inheritance tax last week, clients, all right? So I'm going to put that out. There's no names mentioned, but it's the scenario of how they had the money, how they didn't understand what the problem was. He didn't understand that there was a £50,000 inheritance tax problem for a starter, because he didn't know what the rules were. Then how I put in place a solution, and how that solution then is going to save that person £50,000 of inheritance tax.
That's fantastic. So
it's all trying to relate to, like I said, I keep on repeating myself about identifying the pain point, because inheritance tax in this country, there's 5 to 6 billion collected by the Treasury every year. You don't have to pay it. It's not like income tax, pay as you earn. If you consult a good financial advisor like me, you could avoid inheritance tax. It's as simple as that. But people pay it because they don't consult people, they don't understand it, and they die, and their beneficiaries pay it. It's all legal, above board. You don't have to pay it.
Perfect. Thank you. So you took on a challenge this year to walk the coastal path. I think you said it's 870 miles in just under 100 days, 97 days. So, what was the inspiration to do that challenge?
Probably again comes from my military days. Tell a story. When I was in the military, I always used to volunteer for the hard things that were challenging. And bearing in mind I wasn't very good in school sports, so all of a sudden 5 years later, different person. We actually won a competition in the military that was allegedly one of the hardest military skills competition in the world. It's based in Mid Wales, and it's an arduous 2-day event of not just covering ground, it's actually tested on real battle situations. Now, we won that. We beat the top teams in the UK back in 1986. So that's a skill, or that's an award that I feel immensely proud of, that I was part of a team that won probably one of the hardest military skills competitions in the world. So I can't remember what your question was. I'll link it to that, sorry.
The inspiration for doing the Coastal Pub.
Yeah, inspiration was I like a challenge all the time. And as part of the guy I work with, I do early morning walks of cardio because I think if you get out in the morning at 6:30, the effort you put into that, it sort of gives you your frequency for the day. It's a lot of people, if I say to them, oh, I go out walking hard in the morning, they say, ooh, you must be tired by 11 o'clock. No, it's the other way around. It gives you the energy for the day. So what inspired me to do that is I just thought about it one day. I'd always liked to walk the Coastal Path of Wales, 870 miles. Obviously, couldn't do it during lockdown, so I thought, well, I'll do the equivalent of it around my local area. So I was determined to do it in under 100 days. I actually did it in 97 days. But that took personal discipline. And I'm like that in business as well. If I'm saying I'm going to do it, I do it. So if I said, and I did it for a charity, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't get out of bed in the morning when I didn't feel like doing it, thinking I was going to let the charity down. I got out to the bed in the morning because I didn't want to let myself down. So basically, I was driven to do, on average, 9 miles walking a day. Some days, if I was busy, I missed it. I think one weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I walked something like 32 miles in 2 days just to catch up. I was determined to do it. What gave me the inspiration for it? Just me saying, I'm going to do it, committed to do it. And it is discipline, it's personal discipline to actually get out of bed in the morning, do it, and not fail not to do it. I was determined to get to the end and not, well, I was going to achieve it, basically.
I think you like a challenge, don't you? You like,
absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Do you find how so it's a slightly different definition of challenge, but do you find that, so I get that you physically want to challenge yourself and you want to achieve something, and there's a start, middle and an end. How do you feel about people challenging you in your business arena? Like, how would you feel if, when you're sitting down with someone and you give advice, you give what you think is the right advice, and someone comes to you and says, well, you're wrong, I want to save more, I want to invest more, I want to, how do you approach those sort of difficult concepts?
I think if you ask people the right questions, you get the right answer. So there's a saying, again, it's an old-fashioned saying, telling isn't selling. A really good financial advisor will ask really good questions and ask people what's important to them. That's, once I've done a preamble with somebody, I'll normally say, right, we're going to have this meeting today. Tell me what do you want to get out of this meeting. So it's their agenda, not my agenda. And then they'll say to me, well, what we want to do is do this or do that. So is that important to you? Yes, it is. And then we'll start asking questions then about what they want to keep back, what tax they want to save, what they want to do, what's their attitude to risk. Attitude to risk is a big problem for financial advisors, because I take clients through a real half-an-hour discussion about risk-taking, and I put it into context. And when people have it explained to them, like if I said to you, Mark, tell me about your what's your risk profile? Most people would say, oh, I don't want to take any risk and I want the lowest risk possible. But it doesn't pan out that way. When you explain to people about risk and time horizons, how long they're going to have that money invested for, and then you show people that about taking more risk maybe and on history of that, people will change their mind and say, yeah, I'll go with you on that one. And again, I'll only give people a guarantee. Your money's going to go up and your money's going to go down. What are you going to get back at the end? I'm not going to guarantee you anything, because I can't. I'm going to be straight with you. So I manage people's expectations. So, for example, another story, when lockdown started last March, April, stock markets around the world were free falling. And we got 400 clients. I think we probably had 10 or 15 of them that rang us. Most people just accepted that things were going to go up. They were going to go down. And when the people that rang us, we had one person took £6,000 out of £42 million worth of money under management. So people kept their money in because they were set up the right way. Their expectations were managed. And I didn't have a lot of grief off people. If you don't manage people's expectations, when things don't go very well, they'll give you grief. They won't pull their money out. but we didn't have any grief. We just went through it. I mean, a really good year last year.
That's brilliant. That's fantastic. So what's the plan for the next, 2 to 5 years for Martin?
Yeah, I always joke and laugh and joke about this because I'm mentally and physically fit. I'm 62, and I always joke with people, I don't look it. And that's me not being big-headed, because I know I don't, and because I keep myself active mentally, physically. So the plan is, I think, generalising, most people at my age, at 62, are like clock watching and thinking, counting down the days they can put their slippers on and sit in front of the telly. When people actually say to me, I've just retired after 40 years, that bores me, that statement does. It doesn't resonate with me at all. I just think, because that's what most people want to do, but not me. So what the plan is, I'm 62. I'll go on working until I stop enjoying it. Now, when's that going to come? I'm really enjoying it at the moment. You can probably tell by my sort of demeanour, etc. And I think I want to go probably a minimum of another 10 years and build the business up to a significant value. Because then when I get out, I will have a significant sum of money.
Right.
We're not talking hundreds of thousands of euros, we're talking a lot more than that. So that's the aim, is to get out. And the reason I started working with personal development people before Steve was I didn't want to get to the end of my life and regret not achieving my potential. Now, where you draw that line is, am I going to be Richard Branson? Probably not, but I think you can't be an overnight success. It takes time to build up, and that's the journey I'm on at the moment.
Absolutely. All right, so we're coming to the end of the interview. I ask the same 6 questions to all of my guests. Quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer, but
they don't. Right? Okay.
They don't. Whatever, however you want to explain.
Yeah.
Right. First one is: what's the best decision that you made?
The best decision I made was personal, business, or both.
Whatever, your choice.
Business, personal. I think on the business side was to actually join St James's Place back in 2007. Personal, she's probably listening, to get married to my wife. So they were the two. And the third one is to actually seek help in growing me as an individual by seeking people to help me with my self-development, basically. I think it took me into my 50s to work that out. Why I didn't do it before, I'll never know. But if I did it probably 20, 30 years ago, I'd be a billionaire, no, not a millionaire, with what I know now. But anyway, it's not too late to carry on.
Plenty of time. What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Poor. Be yourself.
Good answer.
I was speaking to my business coach probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I remember sitting down with her, and I used to go to networking meetings with shirts and ties and everything else, and typical financial advice and stuff. She just said, "Why don't you be yourself?" And that's what I did, and that's why I started to turn my life around, by being who I am. So there's no air and graces, false mirrors, misty rooms, and all that stuff. You get what you see from me, what's on the tin.
Do you think you weren't being yourself? This is not one of the questions, but I just want to follow up.
Yeah.
Do you think for a while you weren't being true to yourself?
No, I was probably trying to be a financial advisor, wearing the right gear that everybody else wears, and trying to be part of that sort of thing. And then I just worked it out one day. I just want to be different. I want to be me. Yeah. If everybody else chooses not to be themselves or not be like me, that's their problem, not my problem.
Awesome. Who helped you most in your career?
Who helped me most in my career? A mixture of people, really, latterly or lately. The people I'm working with on my self-development events, because the way the guy I work with at the moment is all about personal development, business development, and making money, basically. So you've got to get yourself right personally before you work on other things. Your business will get better if your personal development's there. So who's helped me give me the best things? Lots of people, mentors, stuff I read about. And we do get good support by St James's Place with the managers, business development managers that we work with. I always will be adaptable to change. I haven't got a problem with people saying, why don't you do it this way, or why don't you do it that way? I'll change in a drop of a pen.
I think openness is really important, and be able to change and be available for it. So I think that's great. Do you have any regrets?
That's a good question. No, it's not. When I say regrets, that could lead on to resentments, and and I know there's people out there that harbour deep resentments about what's happened. I don't carry any resentments about anybody. I've had a challenging life with my eldest boy, with addiction issues, etc. Love him to bits. Clever lad, going to university now. He's going to be a barrister, top-class barrister. Went through hell with him years ago. Don't hold any resentments against that one iota. I'm not the kind of person to harbour and bring my past with me. It's gone. Once the past is gone, it's gone in a second. So, do I have any regrets? Probably, yeah. Not starting personal developments probably in my 30s and my 40s.
Right, makes sense. What are you most proud of?
Me, my family, me, who I am, basically. I think I'm a decent guy. People say that. Good values, kind of person. If I'm in London and there's somebody homeless on the streets, I just can't walk past somebody. I give them money. That's me. You know what I mean? What they choose to do with the money, I can't control that, but that's me. I help people. Just a generally nice guy.
Do you like yourself? This is not.
Sorry?
Do you like yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. Why not?
No, absolutely. And do you suffer with? This is not one of the questions. Do you suffer with negative self-talk?
No, not at all.
Right.
Not one iota. Again, if you look at the personal development world, there's people out there that fear success. I know that. There's people who are fearful of being successful. I can't work the logic of that out. Why would you fear success? But I know why people think that way. I'm not good enough. My family will change. My friends will change. People will make me jealous. That's one big thing I've got in my favour. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care. If they don't like me, that's up to them. I haven't got a problem with that personally. I'm going to beat myself up about it. They don't like me.
Absolutely. I think that's a very strong position to be in, and I just wish more people were like you and just sort of like themselves and didn't give a shit about what other people think, which is...
I think a lot of it, Mark, I know time's running out. I think a lot of it, what I've learned about myself in the last year is confidence, aura. Your aura goes before you, as they say. Is because I do a lot of physical work and I'm doing videos, you feel high when you've walked and you've pushed yourself through something. So if I've done that in the morning, set myself up for the day, the high frequency is there, and then all the things I've done to grow as a person, the videos, etc., that breeds confidence as well. So I didn't really have negative self-talk in the past, but I certainly haven't got it now.
Good. Last question of the 6 is, what does legacy mean to you?
Legacy means, ultimately, what you leave your kids when you die.
Right.
The guy I work with, his legacy is he wants to create an enormous legacy for his children. And one thing he does say is, don't take things personally, because you don't have a conversation with your kids just before you die. I haven't really generated much wealth for you because I took things personally in my life. I don't take things personally. If there's things to be learned, things to be done, you just got to do them, basically. But legacy, I just want to create I come from a working class council estate background, and when I get myself big top of the range Aston Martin, I've always said what drives me is I'm going to dye my hair pink and I'm going to drive around my local town and go back to the place where the people said don't do it, it's never going to work, and I'll be there in my pink hair and my Aston Martin going.
And your red shoes.
My red shoes.
Red shoes as well.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
You can go onto Facebook and just search Martin Thomas, The Financial Truth. We've got a business website, which is www.sjpp, www.sjpp.co.uk/PAM, P-A-M, which stands for Personal Asset Management. So it's www.sjpp.co.uk/PAM.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks very much.
Cheers.